So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where Ireland forms an empire. Now, as most of us know, Ireland is a country all the way over here in the British Isles. They share one border and one border only with the United Kingdom, and they're a pretty neutral pacifist country. What if they try to form an empire? We're going to assume that Ireland has gone down a path of militarism, and using Irish nationalism, they're looking not to only just unite all of Ireland, but maybe even more than that, maybe trying to form a Celtic union. Anyway, if you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We are around 500 subscribers away from 200,000, and once again, when we get super close to that goal, I will be going live on the channel to hopefully capture the moment live with all of you. I have a bunch of things planned for 200k and all the celebratory things to come with it, so let's try to get there, and let's go ahead and jump straight into this video. Alright, so Ireland is absolutely screwed if they go to war with the UK. Let's just say that. Let's get it out of the way. They will not be able to attack the UK on their own. They are not strong enough, even if they're buffed. So what do? They consult some allies. Who exactly would want to get revenge on the British? Who would like to start a war against the British? Oh yeah, that makes sense. France and Ireland will both jointly declare war on the United Kingdom, and this is kind of confusing because what about NATO? Like, wouldn't that activate NATO? No, it wouldn't, because we're not going to go ahead and factor in NATO. We're just going to say that doesn't exist. Magical. But these two countries work together to take on the United Kingdom, and this would be a very, very interesting war because the UK has a very good navy, but I do believe that France is technically militarily a little bit stronger. Adding in the added help of Ireland, and you get a war which the red team might be poised to win. So Irish troops will enter into Northern Ireland and they will take over all of it, while British and French forces battle in the English Channel. Internationally, many countries in the world are choosing to support Ireland because Ireland has been fairly oppressed by the British in history, and also Britain has done a lot of oppressing of other countries. So, you know, you have a good portion of Africa and also South Asia. They're all sending their support over to Ireland because, well, what a perfect opportunity to mess this up. So with that in mind, and also remembering that France is in the war as well as Ireland being buffed, a landing is made in Cornwall by a combination of Irish and French troops. Now, we have learned from history that the best place to do a landing in the British Isles is over here, but in this case, it's closer to Ireland, it's closer to France, and the British Navy likely has a chokehold on this region trying to protect London. So this is the next best spot, and on top of this, we might see some people in Cornwall come up and rise up against the British. Remember, there is that shared Celtic heritage between Ireland and a lot of places in the British Isles, not only the British Isles, but also in France and Spain. So the red team begins to invade into the UK. It is a very, very hard war for them to fight. They lose a ton of troops and resources, but eventually they're able to take this capital city here and also this capital city here. But more importantly, up north, we have the entirety of Scotland deciding to break away from the UK, and a similar movement is seen in Wales. At this point, it is England versus everyone that hates them, and they begin to lose ground around their capital city of London as French and Irish forces take the city. Meanwhile, up north, we have Scottish forces moving down and eventually securing a perimeter down here. Irish forces will capture the Isle of Man, and Welsh forces will move towards this major city over here. Back down south where the red team is, they do a little bit more invading into England until eventually we have the surrender of this country, and the red team, as well as the rebellions of Scotland and Wales, are victorious. So let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. And in this treaty here, we can see that the United Kingdom is completely divided up. So starting off with Ireland, they take over the Isle of Man as well as the entire province of Cornwall. We see France get land right here in the north of the English Channel. Wales gets independence and Scotland gets independence. England is left severely weakened and the Irish Empire begins to grow. But where do they go next? Surely they wouldn't invade Scotland or Wales because, you know, they just helped free them. They probably have very good relations with them, so that wouldn't really make too much sense. You can't invade England because you have a temporary peace treaty with them. You're currently friendly with France, so that wouldn't make sense either. And you definitely can't take on a country like Spain. Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. The Irish will be declaring war on Iceland, who I don't even think has a military. So when Irish forces pull up outside of their capital city of Reykjavik, they are very capable of capturing because there's no resistance. I'm pretty sure they only have like a local police force. How is this country in NATO? That's actually a good question. How? Anyway, I'm sure it has something to do with World War II and the fact that they were saved and then annexed, blah blah blah. Anyway, this video is about Ireland, not Iceland. Will there ever be an Iceland Empire video? They don't have a military. It's probably not looking too good for them. Anyway, we have the Irish being able to easily take over this island up here. They now have a nice little winter vacation spot all the way up here at the top of the North Sea. And in the peace treaty, they fully annex this country, so Ireland pretty much doubles in size. But what do they gain from Iceland? Not really a whole lot other than resources. So what is Ireland going to do next? They're going to need, first of all, more people to command over. They're also going to need more resources to fund any kind of war effort. So now they're going to be stealing the United States' kill, and they will be invading the country/territory of Greenland. Now, of course, this also gets Denmark involved, but they're all the way over here, so they're probably not going to do too much. Especially considering how close the Irish already are to Greenland. When they put troops in the south of this territory, once again, and very similar to Iceland, there is like little to no resistance. Nobody really lives in Greenland, so after they take their capital city over here, it's basically going to surrender. I mean, I don't really know if there's anyone left to surrender. There's like nobody here. So ultimately it would be up to Denmark. Denmark is weaker than Ireland at this point. So at the end of the day, they're going to choose to give up the territory of Greenland. And we can take a look at this peace treaty. No, Ireland will not be annexing all of Greenland in the peace treaty. That would be horrendous. But they will take over the more populated southern areas. So they do boost their population here. And maybe there's some kind of asset in the treaty that which says that Ireland now controls all the oil rigs in Greenland. And therefore they get all the oil supply from here. So now they can properly support and fund their war efforts, which they're definitely going to need, because who is Ireland going to invade next? Once again, they can't really invade any of Western Europe. Maybe go out into the Caribbean and take over some Caribbean nations? Well, actually, the choice is betrayal. Ireland will now be declaring war on the country of Wales. Their forces will quickly make two major landings, one all the way up here in the north and one down here in the south. And eventually these two forces will meet up, and at this point, Wales is pretty much already cooked as they lose, and yeah, they lose. Great commentary there by me. Anyway, in this peace treaty, we will see Wales get fully annexed by the Irish, and the Irish Empire is now kind of looking like a Northern Atlantic Empire. And who knows, maybe eventually they'll have land down here to really kind of shape off that North Atlantic thing. Hi, Scotland. Ireland will now turn their forces up north to betray yet another country. This time they are betraying Scotland. Scotland is definitely a little bit stronger than Wales, but not a whole lot stronger, and compared to Ireland, who is very developed at this point and also has been around for a very long time as their own independent country, Scotland is absolutely cooked. And yeah, goodbye Scotland. It was that easy. Now, would there be any other nations that come to the help of either Wales or Scotland? Honestly, probably not. The English definitely wouldn't. In fact, the English would probably be wanting to invade those countries themselves. But there really wasn't a peace treaty between Ireland and Scotland and Ireland and Wales. It was more so a peace treaty between Ireland and England. So therefore, like, I mean, there's no rules against doing what they just did, even if it was kind of mean. At this point, the Irish Empire is, first of all, looking like a Celtic empire, but also getting a little bit stronger. I'm not too sure if they're as strong as England yet. England on their own is pretty strong, but I guess now is a good time to find out. And this is a surprise invasion. Now, sure, there might have been some Irish forces that were already on the border of Scotland and on the border of Wales, but for the most part, the English didn't see this coming because it does violate the peace treaty that they just signed recently. Being unprepared means that you are going to lose, because that's how the world works. Always expect the unexpected, and the unexpected in this case is a lot of angry Irish people. You heard of the Great Potato Famine. Get ready for the Great Tea Famine. Throw it all in the harbor. England will lose to Ireland. Once again, the element of surprise played a big role in this. I did say that England is probably stronger than Ireland at this point, but you just got to remember the hatred that Ireland, Scotland, and maybe even Wales have towards the English. Even though the Scottish and the Welsh were recently occupied and annexed by the Irish, I'm sure they would still enlist in the army if it meant fighting back against England and possibly taking territory from them. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. Oh yeah, Ireland will take over a good portion of England, so they add land to the Scottish and Welsh claims, although I'm not too sure if Ireland would be one big integrated empire or if they would have autonomous regions like the UK does in real life. So, you know, Scotland and Wales aren't countries, but they kind of are, just not internationally recognized as such. They're still a subject of the United Kingdom government. So I'm not too sure. Do you guys think that Ireland would just fully annex and fully assimilate Scotland and Wales, or do you think they would kind of do what the UK does in real life right now and have them as their not necessarily their own separate thing, but definitely have a little bit of autonomy for them? Anyway, Ireland is now as strong as the UK is in real life. That's pretty obvious. I mean, they took over all of the British Isles. So if anything, it would be the UK plus Ireland plus Iceland and plus a little bit of Greenland. Stronger than France? Well, maybe. We are assuming that Ireland is buffed here, right? Yes, we are. If you are new to the Empire videos, then typically what we do here is we buff the countries to give them a better chance of actually forming an empire, because let's say that Luxembourg was forming an empire. How would they do that? It's impossible. So we give them a little bit of military strength, maybe spawn in 100,000 troops for them, give them a lot of military equipment, oil resources, all of the above, and then Luxembourg can go invade Belgium, and then they can invade the Netherlands, so on and so forth. That's the formula that I usually go by unless the countries are already super strong like the US, Russia, or China. In Ireland's case, they aren't necessarily a super weak country, they're just surrounded by super strong countries like the UK, France, and Spain. So yes, they did get buffed a little bit just to make this a little bit more possible and slightly more realistic, although we're not always aiming for realism. We don't really like that word around here. It's kind of taboo. Realism? AdizzPro? No. Not at all. And yes, I have embraced people calling me unrealistic. It didn't used to be that way. Anyway, D-Day Part 2 has just occurred, and instead of a bunch of American, Canadian, and British people, it's a bunch of Irish people. Might be terrifying. In fact, it is terrifying. So bad that the French are going to surrender. Okay, maybe it's too far. Maybe France wouldn't surrender, and definitely maybe France would not lose this war, but you guys are severely overestimating the French. A gust of wind would make them surrender. Not only that, but all they're good for is wine. And let me tell you right now, the French people are whining because they lost this war. France got put in a ranked match against Ireland, and obviously that didn't go too well for them. So let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty between the Irish Empire and the French Republic. That is like the sixth one, the sixth or seventh one. I don't know. There's been a lot of French republics anyway. Let's go ahead and take a look at this treaty. And in this peace treaty, we see that Ireland actually doesn't take too much land from France. In fact, France barely lost anything. They just lost their nose over here. Brittany, of course, has Celtic ties, but they did take a little bit more than that. So taking a quick peek at the province map, not only did it take Brittany, they also took the two provinces on the outskirts of Brittany. And that's just kind of to further their takings. I feel like if they only had Brittany, that wouldn't really be fair to them since they beat all of France, kind of. I mean, we did throw the match for France. I did kind of do that to them. But yeah, we're assuming that Ireland realistically won the war somehow. France, you'll be fine. Trust me. Oh yeah, they're pissed. So now looking at the Irish Empire, they have taken over some valuable land. They now have all of the United Kingdom, so they've annexed that little French part, but they also have land in mainland Europe, and that land could be pretty valuable for them because they now control the entrance to the English Channel over here, and they don't necessarily completely control it over here, but they have a good portion of land around this area. So this could be good for economics, like fishing and all the other stuff that people do in the English Channel, like swimming across it. Not sure how profitable that is though. And then like naval bases. You're gonna need those for your next task, which is declaring war on and taking on Spain. And the good news about this war is that you're gonna have some help from Portugal. Now Portugal, poor Portugal, they are very confused because they look up to their neighbor up north, their historic ally, and they see that they are now Irish. But alas, Portugal will be fighting in this war with Ireland in hopes of taking land from Spain. Portugal feels very threatened by Spain's presence, even though they're allies in real life. But we're ignoring that because screw real life. The world isn't real. You're not real. We're not real. I'm not real. Nothing is real. Except for Is. Spanish troops will begin to move into Portugal, and it looks like that Ireland finally has a ranked teammate. Portugal is getting absolutely blasted in this war as the Western Eastern Europeans look like they are going to lose very quickly. Have no fear, the Irish are here. Top 10 sentences that have never been said before. Don't worry guys, I'm a 4th generation Irish immigrant. And by that I mean I am completely American. Shout out to my great-grandfather though. Anyway, the Irish have now just taken over Madrid, and well, the ranked teammate is still a ranked teammate, unfortunately. Portugal is now just computed. Oh, sure, we'll go with computed. They're now all the way over here in Lisbon. Guys, I'm sorry, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so whenever I don't get sleep, you can definitely tell in the videos because I'll start speaking not English and using the exact wrong words at the exact wrong times. Like I just use exact in the first time for no reason. Yeah, see, it's just the words that come out of my mouth when I'm tired, they don't compute. There I go again. All right, before I start losing all of my subscribers because people think I'm really stupid, Spain begins to crumble, as it should. Lo siento, pero está pesado. Viva Cataluña. Lo siento por mis espectadores españoles. Soy un pendejo. Okay, but with Spain absolutely getting blasted in this war, we have, first of all, the Irish entering back into Portugal. They start to go ahead and free their Portuguese friends who are very confused about their friendship status, but hey, nonetheless, you're winning the war now, so that's cool. With the Portuguese fully reliberated and the Spanish out of Portugal, we have their troops entering in, and they finally begin to take land from Spain, which is the first idea, but that first idea didn't really work. Kind of forgot to talk about Gibraltar. We're just going to go ahead and say that's Irish. Spain probably took it at the beginning of the war, but now the Irish are back, and at this point, Spain is going to go ahead and surrender over to Red Team and Purple Team forces, which are also known as Catalonia. So let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty between the Irish and the Spanish. And in this peace treaty, we can see that Spain has been semi-Balkanized. They are still here. They are definitely still strong, but they've lost a lot of land to a lot of countries. That wasn't supposed to be colored in, my bad. But starting off with Ireland, they've taken over all of Galicia, and they've also taken over a few more provinces along the northern Spanish coast. You also see that the Basque Country has been released as its own thing. Now, I'm not too sure if that would actually happen. It's an indigenous community in Spain, so it's definitely possible, but France probably wouldn't want it to happen because it does also extend into France right over here a little bit. But that is Ireland's decision, so they decided to go ahead and release them. We see that Portugal gets a ton of land. I'm imagining that Ireland has a bunch of ports along the southern Spanish coast now. And then there's the releasing of Catalonia. However, they don't have all of their land. Say es incorrecto, pero decidí que puedes tener más. ¿Por qué no? And yeah, that's actually going to do it for today's video on what if Ireland formed an empire. Now, I know I said at the beginning of the video that they're going to try to form a Celtic empire, and that's exactly what they've done. I could very well be missing parts of said Celtic empire. They do have all of the British Isles, which I know that's only limited to Wales, Cornwall, and Scotland, if I remember correctly. And then you have the most important thing, which is all of Ireland. These are some added bonuses up here. These aren't necessarily Celtic, but why not? Then you have Brittany, which I know was also part of that. There's a little bit of extra land in France. That's fine, though. And then we go down here to Spain, where we have Galicia, and was the Basque part of the Celtic community? Are they? They might have been, actually. For some reason, I'm remembering this area being a part of the Celtic empire, or whatever the picture or the map that I saw was. I'm not too sure. I don't remember. But yeah, let me know in the comments if I missed any of the Celtic areas. But once again, that wasn't necessarily the whole point of this video. The whole point of this video was an Irish empire, which is exactly what we have done. Ireland is freaking huge, and they're also freaking strong. Anyway, if you guys did enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Once again, we are trying to get to 200,000 subscribers relatively soon. We are, I'm going to say, about 500 subscribers away as of me posting this video. That is subject to change. Once we get closer to these big milestone goals, we do tend to pick up on subscribers. More people tend to subscribe, so it kind of happens fast. So we might be even closer now that this is being posted. Just pay attention to the community tab here on the channel. If you're not in the Discord server, make sure to join the Discord server, not only because it's cool and there's a bunch of cool things happening there, but because I do post a lot of announcements there concerning the channel that I don't always post in the community tab of YouTube. So if you want to stay better informed, maybe even talk to me, talk to the community, post your maps, all of the above, make sure to check out the Discord server linked in the description below. We also have a cool mock government going on there, but by the time this video is being posted, elections have already ended there, but there are elections, monthly elections, and yeah, it's just super fun. Like, this is completely random, but shout out to this guy. He just won a seat in the Senate. This could be you. Also, check out our channel memberships. We do give you early access to each and every single one of my videos, as long as it isn't being premiered. I do have some channel members that ask me about why they don't have early access to WICSO videos, and it's usually because that video is being premiered. I can't give you early access to those because it's going to be technically a live video. Anyway, though, with all that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy. Thank you guys so much for just everything on YouTube here, but also thank you so much for the support recently, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next episode of WICSO coming out this Saturday, or maybe I'll see you before that. Maybe I'll see you in the live stream. For the final time, thank you, and I'll see you all in the next video. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes Aiden Shank, Icy Static FN, See What I Do, I Ain't Lying, Pro, CTG on YT, Euroball, Bren, Jazzy Jerboa, Green France Mapping, Nevada Garbage Trucks, Vista, Datehood 7353, and Golden Ball Mapping, Ozgeo, Ixco, Augusto, A Norwegian, RS, Gail Martinez, Zaylance, Holly Edits, Laser Taze, Pablo Sigma Cat, Strider X, Hammer Toad 45, and DW Cool Dude. Once again, thank you guys.